Now, as this cow walked into the chute, I knew she was favoring that right front foot, but I really didn't see anything that jumped out at me as being a problem. There was no real swelling. Everything looked pretty much normal until, of course, I hit this with my grinder as I started trimming. And there we have it. She has stepped on a rusted off piece of nail, approximately 3/4 of an inch long. You'll notice as I start trimming here, a perfect black circle right around where that nail was. That's common with things like this, and I think all it is just some oxidation from that piece of metal being in there. Now, over the course of the last 3 years making videos, I've come across a handful of different instances where pieces of metal or screws or nails or things like that have become embedded in the claws of these cows' hooves. Now, you might think to yourself, that seems like a lot. But in reality, in that same amount of time, I've trimmed about 30,000 cows. Yeah, that equates to 120,000 feet trimmed in that 3-year time frame. And in that time frame, just a handful of times have we come across pieces of metal. So suggestions to perhaps use a magnet to comb the grounds to make sure that there's no metal for a cow to step on or to cover the pastures, things like that, it's just not feasible for as rare as these instances are. All that being said, I don't want to downplay the significance of this because obviously this has caused lameness for this cow and no farmer wants to see that. And luckily for this cow, that nail hasn't been in there very long and has disrupted just a very small area of corium. Where my knife is right now is where that nail was. But all of the surrounding area, that pinkish colored area, is actually healthy corium with the very thinnest layer of new horn produced on that. That as that sole separates, it allows that older sole to lift away to try to provide relief to whatever may be ailing that foot. And in so doing, that corium produces a new layer of horn underneath that to replace that existing layer as it would naturally slough off. Now in our case, we're going to remove that to speed this healing along. Now you might be watching and thinking, why don't you just take this area right here and take that all out of there, that white area. I don't want to do that. That is actually soft material right now. In a couple of days, as that dehydrates, that'll flake away harmlessly. But right now, you might cause damage by removing it. So I'm just going to leave it in place. It's going to cause no complications to this healing whatsoever. We'll give this area one final spray down, get it dried off, and then we'll apply our salicylic acid wrap. Even though this has caused a large area of sole separation, the area of corium disturbed is actually very small, and typically something like this is going to heal up quite nicely.